And we are live.
Boa noite, ratos e ratas do meu Brasil. Estamos aqui mais um dia em um episódio mais que especial aqui com o nosso convidado que no momento não está entendendo o que nós estamos falando, o Justin Goff, um dos maiores empreendedores que eu já vi aqui, pelo menos no nosso ramo. E também estamos com um convidado mais especial junto aqui para entrevistar ele, que é o Matheus Vacuna, que vocês já conhecem aí, o cara das copies aí. E também estou aqui com o meu co-host, o Ygor.
Salve, salve, rapaziada! Sejam muito bem-vindos ao episódio 17 do Crise Greg Podcast. Hoje a gente vai falar sobre criação de empresas que valem milhões, com o nosso convidado de honra, Justin Goff, e o Matheus Vacudo, nosso co-host especial também para nos acompanhar aí nessa entrevista. Então se apresenta aí, Matheus, a gente vai falar também depois dos nossos patrocinadores, e aí a gente já começa o papo com o Justin.
Tamo junto, beleza? Apresentação, você quer em português ou em inglês?
Pode ser em português, pessoal que
Aí
está
depois você faz
acompanhando de
inglês,
casa.
mano.
Depois
Beleza.
você faz em inglês.
Se você não me conhece, meu nome é Matheus Vacuda, sou copywriter. Comecei escrevendo copy nos Estados Unidos. Trabalhei com uma galera que estava ali no Copy Accelerator junto com o Justin Goff. Fiz alguns trabalhos pro Stephen George aí também. Hoje tenho aí as minhas ofertas de infoprodutos e tal. E não escrevo mais copy para clientes, fico aí focado nas minhas próprias ofertas. E, bom, vai ser um prazer conversar com vocês aqui.
Show de bola. E falando dos nossos patrocinadores, o primeiro que eu preciso citar é a Hospedagem, a melhor hospedagem do Brasil, com foco total em PLR, velocidade de desempenho, preço camarada, e sem contar nos bônus como Elementor Pro e AdHeart que vem junto com ela. Então, confere aqui no link da descrição. Se você ainda não tem ou está precisando de uma hospedagem, a Hospedagem é a melhor opção.
E também já falando agora sobre o Fórum Black Hat, para você que não conhece, é tipo o maior fórum aqui da América Latina sobre marketing digital e Black Hat. Então, se você não está lá dentro, você está largando pelo menos umas 10 casas atrás de todo mundo que está no mercado. Então, corre aqui no link da descrição, e se você entrar com o nosso link dentro do fórum, você também ganha vários bônus de vários convidados que já vieram aqui no podcast. Beleza? E também falando rapidinho sobre o Dogon Designer, que é o homem responsável por deixar o podcast mais bonito. E se precisar de qualquer trabalho sobre design, LP, chame ele lá, que o cara é monstro. Now, talking in English, so Justin can understand what we are saying. I said we are really glad to be here today. That you are one of the biggest entrepreneurs we know in our field, and we are here with Matheus Vacuda and Ygor, and we are going to talk about creating companies, long-term companies, copy, and this type of thing.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate you guys having me on and opening up everything to kind of a whole nother side of the world.
Let's go.
Yeah, I think this is one of the most fantastic things about this podcast and being on the Black Hat Forum, because we connect those bridges, we connect those people from all around the world, from all around Brazil. It's a huge country, so it's a great honor and pleasure to have you here. So to start our conversation, Justin, please introduce yourself, and we have a lot of questions to you today.
Great. So yeah, my name's Justin Goff. I'm known for copywriting, funnel expertise, and building a couple different direct response companies over the course of my career. I got started in affiliate marketing back in 2004 or so. Transitioned from that to creating my own products and doing freelance copy somewhere around 2008, 2009. Tried to sell my own products with kind of like boring e-com style pages and fell flat on my face and was not making any sales. And that was kind of the time when I learned about direct response. My partner at the time, my business partner, was a big Dan Kennedy fan, and he gave me a huge box of Dan Kennedy DVDs and courses and all this stuff. And he's like, you need to just go through this and learn about direct response. And I watched the one Dan Kennedy DVD for it was like 13 hours. And by the end of it, I remember just like light bulbs just going off in my head. It started to really make sense. why we weren't making any sales, trying to sell our fitness course. So kind of from that point, I was hooked with direct response. I got really into it. I launched my first ClickBank offer in 2010. That was a fitness product called the 31-day fat loss cure. Shot up the ClickBank rankings, did like, I don't know, 30, 40,000 some sales that year. Kind of took off and did really well. And that was kind of my first, I would say, real big success in the info product space. Later went on to do supplements. A lot of people know the story. I created a supplement company called Patriot Health Alliance. We sold to 50, 60, 70-year-old kind of Americans looking for anti-aging type stuff. And that company did really well. We grew that to $23 million in sales by the last year I was there. Ended up selling that back to my partner in 2017. And then 2018, 19-ish, Steph and Georgia and I decided to start Copy Accelerator, which was really based upon what we saw in the market, which was a big need for copy training, funnel training, all kinds of stuff like that. And we ran that for the last couple of years, and I actually just sold my stake in Copy Accelerator back to Stefan 2 months ago. So right now I am kind of living the semi-retired life and enjoying life and not working so much. It's been nice.
Awesome. That's the dream, right? Couple exits, right?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I like it.
Let me ask you, did you always have this entrepreneur mindset and this mindset with money, or did you create this during your life?
So it's always funny. I wouldn't say, I would have never really classified myself as an entrepreneur when I was younger, but I would say I was much more of a hustler. Like I really was like trying to figure out all these ways to make like a quick dollar. So like when I was really young, I did a couple things. I would go around the neighborhood and mow people's lawns for $5. I used to buy wrestling figures all the time at the store and sell them on eBay. Did that for a while. I did all kind of like baseball card. I was really, really big into baseball cards when I was younger. And I'd always be like buying them and trading and trying to sell them and make money off of them. So I did all kinds of little things like that to try and make money. I never actually put anything together that had made like a serious amount of money until college when I started doing some affiliate marketing stuff. That was during the online poker boom was really big in the early 2000s, and I was doing affiliate stuff for poker websites at the time. And basically I was building out SEO kind of blogs and pages and stuff like that. And I got to the point where I was making like $300 to $500 a month in college, which when you're in college is a lot of money. Yeah, I felt like I was a king. But that was the first time I kind of put something together that actually sustained and was making me money. And then when I graduated college, I had a couple of job offers to go do SEO for some companies and do marketing for some companies. And my parents really wanted me to do it because they were like good job offers. I would pretty good like starting salary, but I was in my head, I was like, I feel like if I actually put more time into this, what I'm doing right now with the affiliate stuff, like I could get it to making $2,000 a month. And I was like, if I can make $2,000 a month, I could live on that. And I could pay all my bills. It'd be pretty cool to be able to kind of do my own thing. And so kind of against the wishes of my parents and kind of everyone around me, I decided to give it a try. And yeah, it really kind of panned out, I would say, pretty quickly. Like I was able to get from like 500 a month to 2,000 a month pretty quickly. It didn't take a whole lot of time. But yeah, that was enough for me. Like I said, it was enough for me to like pay my bills and eat and buy beer on the weekends. It was, for someone who was 22 years old, it was, I was super happy with it.
All that matters, the beers on the
Yeah.
weekends. And Justin, you said your family wasn't like supporting you on that decision, but were they like against it in some way, or they just gave their opinion?
I think it was a combination of things. I think one, they didn't really understand it. So I grew up in a really small town in Ohio where like my dad worked in a factory, my mom was a waitress, like everybody worked normal, real jobs, like very blue collar kind of jobs. The idea that you would sit on your computer and make money was a very foreign concept to them. They just did not understand it. There was also definitely a lot there with, I think, I mean, you see this with a lot of people where the people closest to you really, they just want security for you more than anything. So they want you to take the safe route, even if you're miserable. They would rather have you take the safe route and have kind of more safety and resources and security than you trying to kind of go do something that you really want to do. So I mean, that's a pretty common thing. I feel like it's hard too when you're young, because it's like the people around you who are the closest to you are sometimes the people who believe in you the least. And it's really hard when you're young and kind of impressionable to kind of block that out and be like, no, this is what I want to do. But luckily, I kind of was pretty set on doing my own thing. So I went after it.
That's great. I think a lot of entrepreneurship stories, or, you know, like you said, hustling stories, a lot of them, it's a lot about being pretty stubborn on what you want, and, you know, not kind of like listening to even people you love, even your parents, and actually pursuing that. Um, and I think it's like you know, at some point you keep trying, you're gonna get there. And
Yep.
like you stuck with it for a long time, making a few hundred for months or years, I don't know how long, and now you've made it. So it's easy to look back and say, well, I was gonna do all of this, you know, I was gonna make it. But when you're in the middle of it, when you're trying, when you're starting out, it's so hard to see it.
It is. Yeah, like in the beginning, this is why I'm always, when I kind of coach people, one of the things I'm a big advocate of is getting them wins pretty quickly, because for a lot of newer people, it's not real until they make some money. So even if it's like making one sale, like that first sale, like I still remember the first sale I ever made online more than I remember days when I've made $500,000 in a day, because that first sale was so monumental to me. Just to it showed me, I was like, holy shit, this is real. This is not like, I mean, all the work and all that building up to it. Yeah, I thought it was going to work at some point and kind of hoped it would, but I didn't really know. But when you actually make a sale and get things rolling, that kind of changes everything. And then when you build momentum, it's like, okay, now I'm making $500 a month. Now I'm making $2,000 a month. But even then, it's interesting. I still never really saw the big picture. So like when I was doing the poker affiliate stuff, there was a forum that was really popular at the time called, I think it was called Poker Affiliate World. And there's this guy on it who ran it, who was doing like, he said he made anywhere between like 120 and 150 grand a year being a poker affiliate. I remember my mind just being blown. I could not, I was like, I can't believe this is like your actual job. You get paid to be an affiliate. Because I was like, yeah, I was making, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 grand a year at that time. That kind of shattered my reality of like what was possible. I was like, oh, you can actually do this and make money. And then I met other guys do it. I remember at the time I met a kid from the UK who was like 16 and was making like 400 grand a year as an affiliate. And I was like, holy shit. Like, so I mean, that's a huge thing for me too, where a lot of like the live event stuff that I did with Copy Accelerator, like the stuff that we taught was really beneficial. But one of the most beneficial things by far is like someone comes in as a copywriter and they're like, oh, if I can make like 2 grand a month or 3 grand a month, I'd be super happy. And then they spend the whole weekend sitting next to a guy who's making 25 grand a month as a copywriter. And they leave 3 days later thinking, okay, this guy's making 25 grand. He doesn't seem that much smarter than I am. I could probably go and make 10 grand. I could make 50. So like their whole reality of what's actually possible completely shifts. So that's a big thing. I think that's super important early on, is being around people that can kind of shift that and open up what you think is possible. And if you can have someone around you that really believes in you kind of more than you believe in yourself, that's super powerful as well.
Yeah, as many people say, you think like doing 10 grand a month is a lot of money when you start, going around with people that make 10 grand a day. So you usually go up your how do I say that? Your
Level
levels,
up.
basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin, when was it that you considered yourself like a copywriter? Because you said you started like in affiliate marketing for poker games, isn't it? And but at that time you were already studying copywriting, or no, you were just trying to make money?
Yeah, not at that time. I didn't really get into copy. I would say it was like 2008, 2009 is when I started studying it, and I started actually doing some freelance copywriting. Mostly on the, I knew a lot of guys who were personal trainers at the time, so I was writing copy for their websites. So I did that for probably a year and a half, 2 years. Wrote a couple things. I launched
Sorry, Justin,
one thing I did.
we are not listening to you. It's
Oh,
interrupting
it's cutting out.
your voice.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. So yeah, 2010, I launched my first offer and I wrote the copy for that. And one of the things that was interesting there is I basically broke down all the offers that were working at the time in the health space, basically the weight loss space. And I just pieced them together. I'm like, okay, these are the 5 offers that are working really well. Here's what they're doing. Like this one opens with a story. This one opens with, here's the benefits they're talking about. Here's the pain points they're hitting on. I really just kind of dissected all of them because I didn't know a whole lot about writing a video sales letter, but I just dissected all the ones that I knew were working and kind of pieced mine together based on that. So I just used that as an outline to write mine. And lo and behold, mine ended up working. It was a little different time back then. Like you could run ads straight from Facebook back then to a VSL with like no problem at all. You could kind of say whatever you wanted in that. It was like the wild, wild west back then. You could just do whatever you wanted. I didn't even, this is crazy. I didn't even have upsells on that offer. And I didn't even email the customers after they bought. So all the money I was making was just from the one sale.
Mm-hmm.
I literally didn't understand. Like, that's how I thought you were supposed to make money. I didn't realize there was like, you're supposed to build this business out of it and
Mm-hmm.
sell them more products and email them and have upsell. I didn't understand any of that. But yeah, it still works. So that was kind of a big moment for me getting that first offer working.
Yeah, that's funny because the direct response market in Brazil is kind of still at that point where
nice.
I would say probably I have some people I've like gave them some feedback on their funnels or the copy and stuff, and I would say 70 or 80% of them don't have an upsell, and a
Wow.
lot of times they're getting a profit from that one sale, the first sale, and then the product's not really good, of course, and then there's no sales in the back end. They might not even have a membership for like Active Campaign or some to an email provider. It's just that one sale, that first one, and they're making like 3-4 rows on the funnel.
Wow.
So it's crazy. It's like the Wild West, and a lot of times I think I saw someone told me, I think, about your strategy that you taught on 1,000 buyers a day, about dissecting like 3 of the top offers and dissect them, looking at the main points. And I feel like that you would work like so well in the Brazilian market if you still did just that. You don't have to be a super copywriter. Just do like the basics and learn what's working and swipe it ethically and legally the right way, like that, instead of copying all the words.
Yep.
And it works. It works. You can make a lot of money just doing the basics like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no better way to figure out what's going to work than to study what's currently working. And I mean, it's one of those steps too that a lot of copywriters and offer owners skip over. Because I always cringe when I'm talking to someone who launched a new offer and I'm asking them, like, all right, so what are the top 3 offers that are working in the market right now? And they look at the blank stare and have no idea what I'm talking about. Then I don't know. Well, how do you put all together? How do you create? I have no idea like what's working in the market. So it's really a great place to start. And like I said, it can tell you everything you need to know because that is real. I mean, opinions are one thing, but real raw data on what people are actually pulling their credit cards out and paying for is what actually matters.
Right. And even if you're following like RNBC, for example, which a lot of people do in Brazil, doing that will just shorten your research phase, in like at least half. It's going to be much quicker for you to write VSLs.
Yep.
Yeah, we know, as you said, you sold your part of a company some months ago. And I want to know how many companies are you running now and businesses you're doing today, basically?
How many have I sold or how many am I running? What?
No, how many are you running today?
How many am I running right now?
Yeah.
So right now I basically my plan is, so I sold Copy Accelerator in like early July, sometime around then. My plan is to still do courses and some trainings and some mentorships. I'm really just kind of scaling back to maybe 10 to 15% of what was doing before. So kind of my goal is to work maybe like an hour and a half a day and just focus on a couple of projects that I really want to do, and not kind of be bogged down with everything that goes. Like running Copy Accelerator was a lot. I mean, it was a huge. We had 200 plus members. I mean, putting on live events and filling those, doing all the weekly trainings. It was a good amount of work, and so kind of the goal for now is really to kind of scale back and then just focus on the things that only the things I really want to do. One of the things that happens when you run a bigger, more successful business is there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done that's like stuff you don't actually really want to do. A lot of the times it's like either boring or it's something that just, I don't know, you're not that interested in. But it's like to run a business of that scale, you have to do that stuff. And you got to get through those kind of points where obviously you'd like to bring someone in at some point to be able to do that stuff for you so you don't have to do it yourself. But as you're doing a lot of stuff, you do it yourself. So my focus now that money is not as big a focus for me, it's much more focusing on the products, the projects, mentorships, all that I really truly want to do.
I don't know if it's just for me, but sometimes your voice is cropping. Are you listening to it as well, or is it's just here, guys?
Sometimes your
Yeah, I got a
connection is
little
kind of...
interference, but it comes back after maybe 10, 15 seconds.
No,
Okay.
but I think it's okay.
Yeah,
I would...
I couldn't understand what you said, so you don't need to repeat.
Yeah, it's okay. But as we were saying, you sold your part of Copper Accelerator, and you already sold another company. Am I right?
Yeah, so I sold Patriot Health Alliance in 2017, which was my supplement company, in a very similar way. So I sold Copy Accelerator back to Stefan, and then Patriot Health Alliance, I did the same thing. My partner Alan in that, he bought my stake from it. So yeah, both companies we built, and I wound up selling back to a partner, which is a lot easier of a sale than selling to kind of an outside buyer, because they already know everything about the company. There's not a whole lot of so really, if you can agree on the kind of the deal and agree on how much money is going to be paid and stuff like that, and then kind of the deal's over.
Right. So when you decide to go into a new venture, a new partnership, is this something you think about from the beginning? Like, is there a possibility for me to exit later on and sell the company, or you just kind of go and see how far you can take it, and is more like a spontaneous decision later on?
So I think it really depends. I have actually, the supplement company I kind of went into with a lot of potentially selling it on the line, but I also really didn't
Sorry
understand
to
at the
interrupt
time.
you again, Justin. I cannot understand what you're saying because the voice is very laggy.
How was it cutting out?
Yeah, it's cutting. I don't know
Hmm.
if you are like too far from your router for internet Wi-Fi?
I don't know. I'm right next to it, so
Oh, so
I'm not sure.
it wouldn't help to change your place. But now I'm listening.
Okay, yeah, interrupt me if it cuts out again. Um, so yeah, in terms of going into it with the idea of selling it, I thought about it with like the supplement company, but I honestly was really naive and I had no idea what it actually took to sell a company. Because there's so much that has to be in place. It has to be built a certain way. People that want to buy it are looking for very specific numbers and customer acquisition numbers, and they want to be able to remove the, like if it's super focused on the CEO, they need to be able to remove the CEO and put someone else and keep it churning. So there's a lot of stuff that goes with that. If I was to start over from the beginning now, I probably would build a company with the goal of selling it. Mostly because you can get, especially if you can build it in a niche where you can get a bigger multiple. So like certain niches, you can get a 10 to 12x multiple. So if you build it to $2 million a year in profit, some of those companies you could sell for 18-20 million dollars, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Other things, like if you build a supplement company, like a lot of people get in, they're like, oh, I'm gonna build a supplement company and sell it. Like there's not a whole lot of buyers for supplement companies. Mostly it'd be like private equity firms. But supplement companies are great cash flow businesses. Like if you want to just a business that spits out a bunch of cash, same with like info product stuff. Like if you're doing info product stuff, you can make great money doing that. You're probably most likely never going to be able to sell it, especially if you're like the face of it, but they're great for cash. So yeah, kind of giving that some thought before you go in, I think is really smart. Are you cool with this just being a cash flow business and making you X amount of money a year? Or would you really build something and sell it eventually? So, I mean, you can go either way. It's very much a personal preference.
Right.
Yeah, this is a thing. This is a thing I would like to ask you. Like, what do you think? What do you think is the steps we can take to build like a long-term company and build equity to sell it after some time instead of just doing cash flow?
So I would say the biggest things people would be looking for is, so do you have a diversified acquisition sources? So like, let's say 90% of your customers are coming from Facebook ads. That's good. That's too much. But if you have it spread out among Facebook, YouTube, Google Ads, TikTok, email, and something else, that's much more appealing to someone who's thinking about buying it. If you're able to remove yourself and the company runs as good or better without you, that's really appealing as well. A huge kind of database of customers is really, really appealing. And if you're kind of doing something in a market where somebody missed out on that market. So I think a great example of this is the brand in the US called Native Deodorant. It's like a all natural deodorant. The guy who actually started that was a affiliate marketer who basically got sick of doing scammy ass CPA deals and affiliate stuff and decided to start a real company. And when he started the company, I think they built it to like 10 million a year in sales, which is pretty solid, but they got bought by a huge company, Unilever, which is a huge international company, for like $100 million.
Wow.
And the reason they got bought for that much was his company started taking a bunch of the market share of all the like traditional deodorant brands. And so bigger companies can come in and be like, okay, you got all these people on subscription. We want that. And we also have all this shelf space at Target and Walmart and Whole Foods and Walgreens, and we could just put your product on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
I think we
Nope.
lost Justin.
I think
No.
we
Okay.
lost you
again?
here for a second.
All right. Hopefully I'm back.
And just if you want to, you can like just leave the call and come back. so we can see if it gets better. I don't know.
Okay, I'll leave the call and hop back on.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Wait a minute, guys. Everything is coming back.
I thought it was just for me that I wasn't listening, but it's for you as well.
Yes. Hmm.
Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
Third world internet in America.
So we are talking about selling companies, and do you think there is a like niche specific that sells for higher values than other niches?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not super well knowledged in that area, but like if you look at, for example, the food niche, um, there's a lot of big buyers in there. So if you created some type of drink or food or bar or whatever, there's a lot of people in those niches that come in and will buy you up right away. That's what I said. The thing with like the supplement, I know so many people who have started supplement companies in the hopes of like getting them bought out. I know maybe 2 people that it's ever actually happened to, and that's because there's really not a whole lot of buyers. Like, there's not a whole lot of like big supplement companies that want to buy it, so it'd be mostly a private equity kind of thing. But yeah, if you want to build something to sell, you definitely should do a ton of research on which niches get higher multiples and what. So like things in tech can get a much bigger multiple than, I don't know, like supplement. You're not going to get near the multiple of that.
Asking, as we're already talking about like selling companies and this type of thing, why did you exactly sold your part of Copy Accelerator? You just thought it was the time you should sell it, or something happened? I don't know.
Yeah, so there was a couple reasons for it. A lot of it was on my side, where I just had a lot of other things I wanted to do. So I do a lot of nonprofit work with dog rescues. And that had been something that's been on my mind for 7 or 8 months, that I wanted to do more of that. And I just frankly never had the time. So I would just keep putting it off and keep putting it off. So that's something I'm going to start pursuing. Other stuff was just very typical stuff that happens in a business with 2 co-founders. Stefan and I had very different kind of visions for how the company should be run and what we wanted to kind of do over it's like we're both really good marketers. So the company grew super fast. Like we got to like 200 members very, very quickly. Then kind of gets to that point where we got to start building all the infrastructure and the operations and really building out the whole company so that you can take it to the next level. And we just had very different kind of ideas for how that should be done. And I'm not sure it would have been able to be solved with just us kind of like talking it out. I think we just fundamentally had different visions for where it should go. So yeah, we just kind of started discussing that, and I proposed the idea of him buying me out, and he was really excited about that. And it was like a week later, we got a contract and everything was done. So that was pretty quick. I'm glad at this point. I'm glad I made the decision because I really just I needed a little time off anyways. And like I said, I have other stuff that I wanted to do, and Stefan and I think had much bigger plans and ideas for Copy Accelerator than I did, and so I think it's probably in better hands with what he's doing now.
Cool.
So you told you sold Copy Accelerator, you sold the supplement company, and what are the next type of business you're thinking of starting, and what are your plans for the future?
I'm actually not trying to start any company. I mean, so this is one of the things that when I sold copies, I know my tendency is to jump back in and work a lot. So I really have kind of promised myself that for at least a couple months, I'm just taking time off, and actually just relaxing and enjoying life. So I've been doing that for a couple months already, which has been nice. I'm going to get into the dog rescue stuff at some point. I mean, I'm lucky at this point. I really don't have to work. I've made enough money that I really don't need to work. So it's more just doing things like I'm gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna do a couple trainings. I'm gonna do some stuff like mentorships. Dan Ferrari and I are gonna do an advanced copywriting workshop at some point. So there's things like I really want to do that I haven't done over the last couple of years, just because Copy Accelerator took up all my focus. But yeah, I've got a few things to do, but really my goal is to not turn into a workaholic and really just kind of enjoy life a little more than I was before.
Yeah, awesome. I think that's something I really like. I look forward to reading your emails, especially the Sunday editions. I really like the Sunday random thoughts, but I'm always like I like how you talk about having that balance. It's what Dan Kennedy says about having your enough is enough kind of money, and never being like looking for more and more and more. And that's something not a lot of people will talk about. Everyone's trying to compete for the top. They all want to claim they're making more than other people, but are you actually happier, making more? Or I can tell you have a really balanced life, and you have you get to take some time off, and that's really, really amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's something I really started thinking about, I'd say, in the last year or two a lot more. Because I would say when I was in my 20s, I was very much money at all costs, working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. I wanted to be a millionaire. I wanted to make a bunch of money. That was like the goal. But then I started making more, and then other things started to really come into play. It was like, okay, I'm making a bunch of money with the supplement company, but by the time we got to the third or fourth year of it, it wasn't that fulfilling. It was just like, yeah, I'm good at this. Yeah, we're making money, but like selling supplements to old people isn't exactly the most fulfilling thing in the world to me. So that was kind of when we pivoted. And then Copy Accelerator, changing people's lives, teaching them copy, was actually very fulfilling for me. So seeing, especially the copywriting side, like taking someone who's making $2,000 as a copywriter and teaching them how to make $12,000 a month, it's in their whole life, their whole family's life kind of changed as a result of that, was very fulfilling for me. So that stuff kind of started to matter a little more. And the money didn't matter as much. And then, yeah, I would say over the last year or two, I really have given a lot of thought to, I don't know, like if I'm making $1 million a year, is my life really going to change if I make $1.5 million? And how much more effort am I going to have to put in to get that? How much stress am I going to have? Like if I didn't have to do anything else, I still made $1.5 million. I'm not a freaking idiot, but that's not really usually how it works. There's going to be more work going into it. There's going to be more people to manage. There's going to be more stress. Fundamentally, that was kind of what I wanted to get away from, because it wasn't as appealing to me anymore. Where I was like, okay, if I make an extra $200,000 or an extra $500,000, is that really going to actually change anything? And not really. So yeah, I mean, I know I definitely differ from a lot of people on that, because most people think, let's make $1 million, they're like, okay, how do I get to 2? How do I get to 5? How do I get to 10? Get to 10, how do I get to 100? I've never personally really thought like it. I think there isn't enough is enough number for me, where it's just like anything above that, yeah, it'd be great, but like I'm not gonna try to bust my ass and stress myself out, because it's not gonna change anything for me.
No.
Okay, as you were saying, like when you were in your 20s, you had this mindset, like getting money at all cost, and what pace you would give, And to young people like me, I know that Vakuda and Ygor, they are older than me. And what piece of advice would you give to young people like me that are building companies right now and basically starting our professional life?
So I'll give you two pieces of advice that I kind of wish I had. One, I wish I would have found a mentor or a coach earlier, because I wasted so much time trying to learn stuff on my own. I eventually did learn stuff on my own and figured it out, but it just took me way longer than it needed to. So I'll do the first thing, because someone who's already been there, someone who's made mistakes, they can just put you on the right path. Like, you need this, and you can just, what would normally take 4 years, you could get done in a year. So you'll get much quicker results. So that would be number one. I would say the second thing, if I was in my 20s again, I would focus a little less on my business and I would focus a little more on having fun, because there's a lot. I mean, that's really kind of what your 20s is for. Like, I probably, if I got to do it again, I probably would go travel, and I'd probably do like the digital nomad thing and maybe go live in Bali or Colombia or Brazil or something for like a month at a time, and just kind of do that while I built the business and still made money, but I wouldn't be working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. Yeah, I would still be working. Yeah, I would be making money, but it wouldn't be kind of taking over and consuming my life, which is kind of more what I did in my 20s. So yeah, I would probably allow myself to live life a little more and have more experiences. Being 38 now, I mean, I'm lucky that I'm still like in good shape and in good health, but like, I mean, I see a lot of people just my age or a little bit older. It's like a lot of the stuff that they were never able to do, and now honestly they're like overweight and out of shape, and they're not able to do it now. It's like, okay, like, you should have took advantage of that when you were 25.
Yeah, I agree. The part of having a mentor, it's so important. You know, you can spend months watching YouTube videos. You can watch all of John Benson's videos trying to write VSLs, but nothing's gonna help you more than having a mentor, someone with more experience, giving you feedback on the copy. That's kind of how it worked for me when I was mentored by Jake Hoffberg and Sean McCool. They're pretty big in the financial space.
Yep.
And he was so helpful. You know, Jake's kind of like rough around the edges, so he'll read your copy and be really honest with you about how bad it is. And if you don't have a big ego, you can you're open for you're open to hear some criticism, then you're gonna evolve so much faster. You know, it's really a shortcut.
It is. I mean, I had a very similar experience with David Deutsch, because I was pretty decent at copy, and then I hired David for about 1.5 to 2 years to be my coach. This was like 2014, and I mean, within like 2 sessions, I realized like I didn't know shit about copy. Like, he was just tearing my stuff apart. And what was really happening to me was all the principles. Like, I knew the principles and I thought I was doing them, and then he'd point out, he'd be like, "No, you're not." Like, I was like, "Yeah, I know you're supposed to hook people right away. You have to suck them in with a good headline and a good lead." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing that." He's like, "No, you're not. Like, the best part is like here on page 2 and not in the headline." So just having that second set of eyes on it from someone who knew copy much more than I did was extremely helpful for me. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I always tell that to younger people. I'm like, if you got money that you're setting aside to invest in real estate or stocks or crypto or whatever you're going to put it, you'd be much better off just putting that money into a mentor. If you find a good mentor, because your income's going to go up so much from a good mentor, it's the ROI on that is just so much bigger.
Yeah, as you were talking, it all makes sense. Talking about, especially about the mentor. When do you think I can see I found a good mentor? Because like doing this podcast, I'm able to talk to many brilliant people every week, and sometimes I feel kind of confused as who would be like a good mentor for me. Do you think the the principal thing would be like our principles fit, or what type of thing do you think a good mentor has?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a couple things I would point out. One, you want a mentor who is kind of where you want to be. So someone who's already, so if you want to be a really good copywriter, then I would get someone who's a really good copywriter. If you want to build an info product business or a supplement company, get someone who's done that. I think a big thing with the mentorship is finding a mentor who it's not about them, but it's about your success. A lot of mentors do not put the mentees' interests first. They will kind of puff up their own ego and put themselves first. But a really good mentor will always put you first and make all the decisions that are in your best interest. So I mean, that I would look for, and I think what you said about values and having those aligned, I think is really important. So someone who like Grant Cardone, he's brilliant, he's super smart, he's a great salesman, he's a great businessman. Him and I probably have very different values in terms of working and building stuff. And I probably would, if he was my mentor, we'd probably clash on a lot of things because we don't see eye to eye on certain things. So yeah, I think finding someone who has very similar kind of values and an outlook that you have, I think those three things would be really important.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
I have a curiosity question. Have you ever visited Brazil?
I have not. I started thinking of it. I'm thinking of maybe I put a thing on my Instagram a couple of weeks ago about either going to Colombia or Brazil at some point. I got a lot of Brazilian copywriters telling me I need to come to Brazil, so it might happen at some point.
Nice. It would be a pleasure to have you here and to
Yeah.
meet you personally.
Yeah, definitely.
No.
And talking about you come here, you should also join our forum to be in contact with us. It will be really, really amazing. You could join there as a special member if you want.
Nice.
Obviously.
All right. Well, I will get in touch with you guys if I make the journey.
Yeah, sure.
So, where do you think digital marketing is going, Justin? How do you see the future from now?
Did you say email marketing?
Digital marketing in general, not
Digital
just
marketing.
only email marketing.
Honestly, I'm not the person to ask about this. I'm so bad at making predictions. Like when Facebook came out, I thought it was going to be a huge flop. When Twitter came out, I thought it was so stupid. I thought YouTube was dumb. Like I'm terrible at predicting how good things are going to be. But I'll kind of give you some thoughts around it. I think there's definitely going to be a shift more to brand building, a little more than hardcore direct response, simply because that is what the networks, Google, Facebook, YouTube, are all kind of demanding. That's already happening. I've dealt with a lot of entrepreneurs that I'm friends with that are very smart, kind of moving more from the hardcore direct response to a kind of watered down, blended e-com kind of style. And that's working really well for a lot of them, and it allows them to run on Google Ads and Facebook, whereas they couldn't really run stuff before. So yeah, I think a little more brand building and a little more focus on customer experience. Like we all know, like especially in the US, you need to have like 2 or 3 really good upsells to make that work, but that experience is not great for the customer. Like it's not going through a 20-minute VSL for an upsell and then another one and then an exit pop. It's just not a great experience, but you kind of have to do it to make the numbers work. But I think there's going to be some innovation in that area where you could do it on a I don't know, a more streamlined thing that's not as invasive for the user. So I could see a lot of changes coming in there as well.
Starting talking a specific question. If you're starting from scratch today, with no money, you don't know any influent people in any market, how would you start and how would you make it, basically?
So I think I would focus on, I think acquiring a skill, a money-making skill, is step one. And so whenever I teach people this, it's either copywriting or media buying. If you're actually good, I mean, if you enjoy writing, I think copy is the way to go. And if you're creative, like, copy is the way to go. If you're more analytical, kind of left brain, media buying is probably would be a better route to go. But yeah, I think I would start with copy. I would do everything possible to try to find someone to learn under. I think I would probably, if I could, try to get a gig in-house somewhere. So be a junior copywriter for one of the Ygor companies or some company or whatever it is. Somewhere where I could work under someone and just be kind of an apprentice. I think if you do that, I've just seen that with so many people where they do that for a year or two and then they're like set. They know everything about email, or they know everything about writing VSLs, and then they can kind of go off on their own and do whatever they want at that point. So if I was starting over, I think I would. It's obviously not easy to get those jobs, but if you're a hustler and you're creative and try to get in touch with the right people and you don't take no for an answer, I think you can make it happen.
Yeah, perfect. Makes all sense. It's cool because all guests that came here, everyone answers in a different way. So many people can watch all the podcasts, all the episodes, and see what makes more sense to them. How would they start, basically?
Nice.
Justin, I have another question about the future. You say you were like taking a sabbatic year, like more like a retired life. But what do you expect for the next year, 3 years, or 5 years of or your life? What drives your life nowadays? And well, how do you see your own future?
That's a great question, man. I think for me, it's much more about fulfillment now than anything else. So, um, I feel like I'm gonna be doing a lot of the stuff that I kind of put off. So, like I mentioned, the dog rescue stuff is a big one. It's something I have a big passion for. It's something I was doing in my spare time already, but now I'm gonna be able to kind of dive into that more and just kind of do a lot more of it. There's other simple things like dating always got pushed to the wayside. Like when I was working all the time, like there would be people I was dating and I would wind up not having time for them, or just business stuff always came first. So I would say those two are probably two of the biggest changes. And then just normal stuff that I was always really bad about traveling because I was just working all the time. And I felt like if I took a week off, like I'd feel guilty about it. And I felt like I'd be like falling behind. So, definitely planning on doing a good amount of traveling and just catching up with friends that I haven't seen. Going to places that I've kind of wanted to do, and yeah, I've just kind of never gotten around to. So I like most people wait till they're in their 60s or 70s and kind of do that when they actually retire. So I feel like hitting that now.
I'm looking forward for my own retirement at 35. I hope I will have enough money to just do whatever I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I see many people that my age, that they are also entrepreneurs. They will retire at like their 30s. And I say, whoa.
Yeah, that's
I
crazy.
mean, I think it definitely varies person to person. Because like I know a lot of people who are really ambitious entrepreneurs that would not be able to do it. And just because they get so much out of work and that's all they really know. So if you kind of took that away, they would probably be depressed and sad and not know what to do. So I think, like I said, I think it really depends person to person. For me, this feels like the right kind of move right now. Who knows? I mean, a year from now, I might get bored and decide I want to build a company, but that's not out of the question. But for now, I'm enjoying a little slower life.
Should we go through the video questions, Igor?
Yeah, we have some video questions that some people recorded, so I'm going to show it. But before that, I'd like to hear from you about your vision about money, your mindset about it. Was it always like easy for you to get money as you wanted, or sometimes you struggled to go beyond some point?
About money?
Yeah.
No, it was actually not easy for me. I had very bad money beliefs when I was younger. Like I said, growing up in a small town where everything was equated with like you work hard, you do this job at a factory, you make $15 an hour, and that's like how you make money. Um, I mean, I grew up thinking if you made $50,000 a year that you were rich. Um, which it seems crazy to me now, but like, and I mean, I didn't know when I was a kid, I really didn't know anybody who made like over 100. I knew like two families that made like over $100,000 a year. One was a lawyer and one was a doctor. So like that was the only thing I thought. Like I thought if you wanted to make over six figures, like you had to be a lawyer or a doctor. That was kind of like all I knew. But I also grew up with like a bunch of really bad beliefs about money in terms of like I thought rich people were assholes. And then when I started making money and started being around people who had money, I realized pretty quickly that that wasn't the case. Like a lot of the people I knew with money were great people. There was nothing assholishness about them at all. So it took me a while to break that. I think the biggest one is just really feeling deserving of the money. I think I did a lot early on in my 20s where I would really self-sabotage myself and not allow myself to make money or make more money, or I'd get to a place where like I'd feel uncomfortable where I was like, oh, I'm making too much money. That that kind of held me back for a while. Like, I remember when I first started making over six figures, I had a lot of guilt about making more money than my parents. And like part of it I almost like self-sabotage there and like made less just so I didn't feel so guilty about that. So yeah, I definitely had a lot of that held me back early on. I mean, one of the biggest things that was influential to me with money was being around people with money and just seeing how casual they were about it and how they talked about it. It really changed. Like it wasn't this like very serious tight thing. It was like just like very normal to them, and they spent money and made money, and it was just this normal thing. Um, and that was very eye opening to me to see because it was very different from how I grew up, where money was like this thing that was really hard to get, and you had to like save every penny. And then when I was actually around people, like I said, when I was around people with money, they didn't really think like that. So being around people who have kind of good money beliefs, money mindsets is huge.
Yeah, I think that ties back to one of the previous questions about how important it is to have a mentor or a coach, because sometimes it could be just as, you know, you have all these stories in your own head about how things are supposed to be or how you think they are supposed to be, and you don't even know. You might answer a simple question in a way that your coach, your mentor, is gonna pick it up and say like, "Why did you say that? Why do you think like that?" And it's about having a mentor and the people you surround with, which is kind of hard in the internet marketing world because you kind of work by yourself in front of the computer, and everyone around you, they don't even know what you're doing online. They have no idea how internet marketing works. Um, and another thing is, when you work on having a money making skill, like Justin said, and you really master that one skill, the money you make out of that, you feel like you deserve it because it was a skill you developed. And it wasn't just like you got lucky, it wasn't like a fluke of nature, and then you're gonna have all the self-sabotage and imposter syndrome and things like that. So it's really important to start in the right direction, which is why I think Justin said, getting a mentor and learning a skill, that's the right way to start it.
Yeah, as like Justin said, like sabotage yourself. I see this a lot, especially in the environment. I mean, I know many people that they think the same way, like money is a bad thing, rich people are all assholes, and I don't know. I think this is a really mindset that the most part of Brazilians have. That if you have money, it's because you steal from someone or you made a bad thing. And I think this is definitely not true. We can see this every day.
Justin, how was your way to change those beliefs, those way of thinking? Like, did you go to a course? Did you have a mentor? How was the way that you changed your mindset to be more appropriate to make money, growing money, and keep money?
So there was two books that were really influential to me. One was Dan Kennedy's book, Wealth Attraction for Entrepreneurs. Really great book that just has a bunch of these kind of money principles in it. There was another one by T. Harv Eker called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Very similar book.
That one's really good.
Yeah, they're both great. Both of those really kind of help me kind of see some of the flaws in my thinking. So those were big. And then, like I said, the other big thing was simply being around people with money, being immersed with the people that are doing the things that you want to do is vital in every area of your life. So like if you're overweight, if you start hanging out with a bunch of guys who are in shape and who are going to the gym and are eating healthy, you'll start to think like they do much quicker than if you just hung out with a bunch of guys who are overweight and eating candy bars and pizza every weekend. Like I said, that works in every kind of area of your life. So the more you can hang out with the successful people, if it's in person, even better. If you're not able to do that, then doing stuff online where you can hang out in those types of groups, it really does start to change the way you see things.
Yeah, it's especially a good thing when we started this project. We are now, me, Ygor, and the other host, Elias, we are able to talk to many successful people every week and get in touch with them basically every day. So
Nice.
I'm really glad to be able to do a project like that.
Nice. That was great.
So should I go now for the questions for
Yeah,
Justin?
let's do it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Go.
So first question.
Hey Justin, my name is Lucas. I'm a big fan of your work and my question is very simple. If you could, what would be the top piece of advice you would give yourself years ago about scaling your business, your digital business? Thank you. Hey Justin, my name is Lucas. I'm a big fan of your work and my question is very simple. If you could, what would be the top piece of advice you would give yourself years ago about scaling your business, your digital business? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it would go back to starting a business. Would go back to what I said earlier. So first, before you start the business, you need to have some skill, whether that's copy or media buying, because if you don't have one of those skills, the chances of your business being successful are pretty slim, because you're not going to know how to make sales. So you need to start with some decent knowledge of copy or media buying. You don't have to be the best in the world, but you got to be pretty decent. So I would start there. Then when you decide to actually start a business or create an offer, I would say the biggest thing would be what we talked about earlier, which is studying the other offers and the businesses that are working currently in your niche. So find a couple of them that you know are working. You really just kind of got to talk to a bunch of people and ask people and pay attention to email lists and see what keeps getting promoted over and over, and figure out what's working and then kind of study that. And I think tied in with that, if you can get a mentor, whether that's you paying for a mentorship or you maybe like trading something, or maybe someone just wants to mentor you, I think that as well. Yeah, if I could kind of go back, that's probably what I would focus on.
Okay, so we can go through another video
From Derek.
from that.
Hey Justin, my name is Derek. I'm a copywriter here in Brazil. Firstly, I want to thank you for taking your time helping your community. I'm a big fan of your job. And my question is, here in Brazil, email marketing is very undervalued. Unlike the American market, where I see it is practically where the profit is. I'm a subscriber in your list, and I consider you one of the greatest email marketing experts in the world. That said, how to build an email list that more profitable than my front end, my VSL funnel? Hey Justin, my name is Derek. I'm a copywriter here in Brazil. Firstly, I want to thank you for taking your time helping your community. I'm a big fan of your job. And my question is, here in Brazil, email marketing is very undervalued. Unlike the
Do
American...
you understand the question?
Is he asking how to build an email list?
Yeah, more profitable than your back end, your front end product, basically.
So building an email list really depends on the business. So the bigger direct response companies are going to build most of their list off of just getting buyers from. So let's say they're running ads on Facebook or YouTube to their fitness course. Everybody who buys that course gets put on the email list. So a company like VShred, who does like 200 million a year, this is basically what they do to build up their list. And I believe their list is like 500,000 to 1 million people, somewhere in there. So the bigger companies will do it all with just buyers. If you want to just get started, the other way you can do it is, well, there's tons of ways you can do it. I mean, you could do it organically, which is maybe you're doing YouTube videos, maybe you're doing Facebook posts, whatever, one of those types of things. And then you're linking at the end to like an opt-in page so people can get onto your email list. You can do affiliate stuff, which is what I do a lot for my email list. So I pay affiliates to promote my opt-in, and then I'll either pay them a flat fee or I will pay them per opt-in that they send me. You need to know your numbers and what kind of an opt-in is worth to you over time. But if you know that, it's like for me, it was a really good ROI. I think I spent $40,000 paying affiliates, and that brought back like $170,000 in revenue in like 3 months. So it was a huge ROI very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So I really should do more of it because it's working super well. But yeah, I think the big thing with building a list is most people are always looking for a magic bullet with list building and like something that's going to give them a big list in like a week. And that's just not how it works. You're either going to have to pay money to acquire customers or pay money to acquire leads, or you're going to have to put in a lot of time to do organic type stuff, which would be YouTube, Facebook, stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of where I would start. One last one that works pretty well is list swaps. So I do this with other people who have email lists kind of in the copywriting marketing space, where I'll promote their list, they'll promote my list. We don't pay each other any money, but I get 500 new opt-ins, they get 500 new opt-ins, and then cool. So yeah, those are a couple ways that work really well. I would say the big thing to keep in mind is that, like I said, list building it's something you do over time. Like it took me, my email list right now is 9,000 people, which is not that big. I mean, it's decent, but I mean, there's people with much bigger lists in the internet marketing space. But it took me 4 years to get it to that big. And only kind of last year did I start doing some like paid stuff for it. So yeah, it takes time. It's really just consistent effort and time to build a list. I know that's not what anybody wants to hear, but that's the truth.
That's the truth.
It pays off. It pays off. But what type of open rates do you have? I bet you have a really well engaged list.
I do. Yeah, my list is highly curated, and obviously people who really want to hear from me. My average open rates are between like 50 and 60%, which is very high.
Like 3 times more than like being good already. If you get 20%, it's good already.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly kind of the style emails I write that people, and honestly, it's interesting with mine, like my subject lines really don't even actually matter that much. Like I could write a shitty subject line and a great one, they get pretty similar open rates. So a lot of people just tend to just open my emails, I think is what it is.
Yeah, it's because of you.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the trust and credibility I build up, and they kind of want to hear from me. So yeah, it's interesting to see that. And it definitely is, like if I had an email list that was 100,000 people, there's no way I'd be getting 60% open rate. Like it is a little bit of a smaller list, so that's still possible when you have a smaller list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the most powerful thing is about like who owns the list, because for example, and who are the public, who are the subscribers, because for example, I have a business with my wife and she helps students to get to college. She prepares them to perform during exams to get admitted to college. So they are like teenagers and they don't like opening emails. We had like 10,000 subscribers, but the opening rate is like below 5%. So it was useless for us.
Well, yeah, that's definitely an advantage of being in the internet marketing space, is because everybody on my list is like on a computer all the time. They're always checking their email, and look, it's a lot different. And it's also interesting, like when I look at my stats, like 80% of my opens are on a desktop or laptop, not on mobile, which if you're in any other niche, it's usually reversed that. And so probably 70, 80% on mobile. But it's like most of the people I'm talking to are copywriters or business owners who are on their laptop or their desktop working all day. So yeah, very, very kind of different niche.
I would like to know more about your OLAF method you created for doing upsells, like copywriting thing.
Okay. What do you want to know about it?
If you can talk about it, you can teach us a little about how does it work.
Sure. I'll give you kind of the overview of it. So OLAF is an acronym for offer, length, opening, format. These are the four things I found that matter the most with upsell, specifically with the first upsell, which is where you really want to focus on first because that's where most of the money is made. So the big thing with upsells that people get wrong is the offer is just not congruent with what the people bought on the front end. So I'll give you a really good example of this, of a congruent one. Jay Diebold, who used to be in Copy Accelerator, he had a credit repair program. Basically, a book that you bought on the front end is like $40. Teaches you how to repair your credit if you got bad credit. The first upsell basically is a video showing you how we're going to teach you how to do all this and repair your credit, but there's a big problem. It's actually pretty hard to do. There's all these forms you got to fill out and a lot of stuff to do. And the truth is most people will never do it. So what they did was created a program that does like 90% of the work for you in terms of filling out all the forms. That's a very, very congruent offer with what they bought on the front end. And it's a great example of a done for you upsell, which is what most people want. They want the result, but they don't want to have to do the work. So if you could in some way make it done for them, they will always buy that. I remember Jay told me that. I've modeled that upsell format on offers I've done. My buddy Blake did the exact same. Blake had a Tinder course teaching guys how to get matches on Tinder. And then his first upsell was basically done for you lines to send to girls on Tinder that'll get a good response from them. Well, like what guy wouldn't want that? Like he's giving you like 200 proven messages that work to send to girls. Now you don't have to think about what to say and you can just send this. So those are really congruent. And that's why like those upsells were converting at over 40%, which is really good for a first upsell. So yeah, that the offer is the most important thing. So is the offer right and how congruent is it with what they bought on the front end? Another good one that works with a lot of physical products is what I call more of the same. So like if they bought 3 bottles of a supplement on the front end, you can sell them 3 more bottles of that same supplement as the first upsell, and it'll work really, really well. So that works really well. So like I said, offer, the length, most people, the length on their upsell is just too short. So it'd be, if it's a written thing, it might be like 2 pages, or if it's a video, they do like a 3 or 5 minute video. I found that longer ones always work better. So most of my upsell videos are like 15 minutes long, 20 minutes long, something like that. And if it's written, it's, I don't know, 15, 20 pages long. So length really, really matters there. And I've tested this over and over in every different niche, and the longer just always works better. So that's the second part. The opening is really, really important because most people make the mistake of basically diving right in and trying to sell them on something else. And the problem you run up against with that is they still have anxiety about what they purchased from you before. They're wondering, did I make a good purchase? Did I get scammed? Is this thing legit? And all of a sudden you're trying to like sell them something else without recognizing what they just bought. So this is something I've put a lot of effort into, which is really just reassuring them at the beginning, like, you made a great decision. We're packaging up your order. Take it right now. I want to tell you that you didn't just make a good decision, you made a life-changing decision, because in the next 2 weeks you're going to experience this, this, and this, and you're no longer going to experience this. So like really kind of future pacing all the good stuff that's coming. You're really just restating all the benefits and all that they just had in the previous sales letter or something. So yeah, that opening part, that first like minute or two, is super, super important to kind of quell that anxiety that they might have about, was this a good purchase? So that's the third O. So O-L, yeah, O-L-O. And then F is format. In my experience, a video only for an upsell tends to work the best. So some people do video, some people do video and text, some people do just video. From everything I've tested across multiple niches, the video only tends to work the best. And like I said, format wise, that's usually a very basic video where all they can really do is watch the video. They can't click around and read stuff. They're just watching the video, and maybe it's 12 minutes, maybe it's 15, maybe it's 20 minutes. But yeah, that's kind of the Olaf method in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's really, really, really interesting, because many people, they, especially we told you, here in Brazil, there are many people that they don't even have a upsell. So getting like a method of how doing it, it's really, really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and we
Thanks,
have
man.
to be a lot very careful, because sometimes the upsell kills the product, because it sells the same thing, or it sells something that is competing with the main offer. And as you said, it's very important to be careful about that.
Yeah, I think the best way to look at it is, okay, they bought this product from you on the front end. Now, what is the new problem they have? So if you can figure out what that new problem they have is, so with the credit card or with the credit repair one, it's like they bought this book from you and you give them all this advice on how to repair their credit. What's the new problem? The new problem is there's a lot of forms to fill out and a lot of stuff you got to do to repair your credit. So if you can figure out what that new problem is and then solve that with the upsell, that is a very simple way to do it that pretty much always works.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
go
No,
ahead,
you
Heitor.
can say. I'll say after.
Sometimes the person buys and then he receives another offer, and thinks with himself or herself, oh, so I just bought and he's trying to sell me again. So how do you deal with that? Like, if you make the length of your copy longer, then the person would not feel this way.
So I mean, I think a lot of you don't really know they think like that. I mean, that's the way we think they might think. You don't really know for sure. I mean, they might be bothered by your kind of upsell flow, but they also might find it amusing. So I mean, some of the stuff with upsells, though, I say, is like, if you're offering them a solution that makes it easier or gives them more benefits, you should probably try to do everything you can to sell that to them. So like one of the things we did with our supplement when we had our greens powder that did really well, they came in like a 6-ounce jar. And our first upsell was you could upgrade to the 11-ounce jar for like $20 more. And we were getting like close to 50% of the people taking that. It worked like crazy. Because it was something they really wanted. It was like, you can get more for like just a few dollars more. And it was very congruent. Like they bought the small one, now you can get the big one for $20 more. So yeah, I think really putting some thought into the congruency and is this really adding benefit or solving a problem in their life?
Great.
Yeah, the question I would do is the same. Igor already said. Yeah.
I asked people from YouTube if they have questions. So I'll give the minute more.
A guy said here, love the Tinder pickup line upsells.
He would probably buy it.
There you go.
Where's the link? Where's the link?
Yeah, I think that's what's really interesting is I was reading about direct mail stuff, and they were kind of doing the same upsell flow back in the day, where you would buy a product in the mail, and let's say it takes 2 or 3 weeks for the product to arrive. They'll send you a letter first before that, let's say in 5 or 7 days, and the letter with the same type of opening will congratulate you on the decision you just made. You're gonna get a product in a few days, but then they would just present a new problem. So that was like it's really interesting how there's so many things that translate from the classic direct mail strategies to internet marketing, and that's why also it's so important to think in principles, in strategies and not just tactics, because the principles are still the same. The person just bought it and they have a little bit of anxiety. They don't know what they're gonna get, how good it's gonna be, and you have to start the next conversation is you gotta ease that anxiety first, show them that they made a good decision, and then present a new problem. It's the same idea.
Yep, very much.
Yeah, I think I would like to ask you is basically, do you think it's more important you study like these principles like from the old books and from the mail marketing, or should we just focus on what's working on like right now?
I think you honestly could probably learn more just studying what's working now. Because if you study, let's say we look at an offer that's working, you study their Facebook ads, their YouTube ads, the sales page, you buy the product and go through the funnel, study their upsells, get on their email list, study that. You're going to learn a lot more of the intricacies and the details of why that's working than you would studying the principles. I mean, they're probably following all of the direct response principles if it's working. So at least for me, that tends to help a lot more because I really like seeing examples of stuff more than just kind of like learning about principles. So seeing real live examples of, I don't know, a nightmare story that opens up the video sales letter. That is more impactful for me than just studying principles from books.
Yeah, it makes all sense. And another question we got here on YouTube, a guy asking, how do I know my copy is good?
I mean, the only way you know if it's good is if you're able to test it. So, I mean, people can give you feedback and you might have a decent idea if it's going to work based on feedback from a good copywriter. But the only real way you'll know is testing it and find the data. So see if it works when you actually send some traffic to it.
And what do you use as a parameter for like good or bad copy when you test it? Like you put $1,000 on an offer, and if it sells 2,000, it's good. How do you measure?
So let's say I was launching a new offer today. If I spent $1,000 on traffic and it brought back, I don't know, let's say it brought back $400. To me, that shows it has potential because I know with tweaking the ad angles and tweaking maybe the lead, we could probably get that to break even pretty easily. I mean, one of the things you see when you run a lot of traffic real quickly is that certain angles, like you got to run 100 ads and like 2 of them will do exponentially better than the other 98. Same thing when you're testing leads, like you might test 5 different leads and like one of them will be a huge winner over the other four. So I always keep that in mind. In the beginning, I'm really just looking for potential. So if I spent $1,000 and literally didn't bring back any money, I would be concerned. If I spent $1,000 and it brings back 300, 400, 500 bucks, I'm pretty happy with that because I know I can test and get it there. One mistake a lot of people make is assuming that if it's a good offer, it should work right out of the gate. And most times that's just not the case. Most of the best offers are crafted over time, so they're really just dialed in and chiseled in, kind of like almost like how a sculptor would take a raw block of cement and sculpt it. That's kind of how an offer really works, because you kind of start out with this just block of nothing. You throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. Then you start to see, okay, this angle is working, or this type of hook works. Okay, now let's start testing the ads with that. Let's test a different lead with that. Maybe the pricing is off on the product. There's just so much stuff you can test. So really, like I said at the beginning, you're just really looking to kind of get some potential, see if it's there.
Nice. I didn't expect you said $400 for 1,000 of investment. I was really expecting that it should break even or even go better than the investment.
I mean, obviously, it's great if that happens. I mean, I've had it happen on a couple offers where they were great right out of the gate, but that's not the norm. You usually gotta grind your way to it.
Last week we had a guest in our podcast, and he talked about how in the US you usually focus more on the public and sell different things to the same public, and here in Brazil we are much more centered on the product, and we try to find people to buy our product. So, do you agree with that vision that you work more with a specific public and try to sell to the same person a lot of products, or you think it's more focused on the product, the marketing itself? I don't know if I made myself clear.
Are you asking if more focus should be on the product versus the marketing?
Yeah, the product or the public. I mean, you should create solutions to sell to the people, or you should build a just one product and find people to buy it.
I gotcha. Yeah, I'm much more a fan of figuring out what the public wants and then create a product based on that. I've tried the other way before, and I just don't think it's the best way to do it. Some people can do it just because they have an innate ability to know what people want, but I'm much more a fan of finding things that are already working and then tweaking them just a little bit. So whether that's an info product or a physical product, tweaking it 20 or 30% to kind of put my own twist on it and to improve it, and then going from there. Because the hardest thing to do is get something that works, especially when you're doing like paid traffic. So if you can start with something that you already know works, to me, that's the better route.
Mateus,
Não,
Heitor, do you
não,
have
I
any more
see.
questions?
No, actually, I don't. And I was looking at YouTube if there was any other questions here.
I guess one question for Justin is, so when do you give up on an offer? So if you're tweaking for months, or how long, or is it a matter of time? Is it a matter of your
Money?
energy, or money? When do you decide, like, okay, this is not gonna work, let's move on to the next offer?
Yeah, it's a really good question because I've had it happen before. I had one that it was like, man, it was probably 9-10 months. Just could never get it over the hump. It was always close. Like some things it would do okay on, and other things it would bomb. This is why I much more prefer something to just bomb right out of the gate than to, because if it just bombs and I can just scrap it, fine.
Mm-hmm.
If it kind of just trickles along doing mediocre for 9 months and I waste all this time and money for 9 months trying to get to work and it never works, that's just like the worst thing. It really is. I would say most of the ones I've killed, after I try a pretty good array of ads on the front end and I'm not seeing anything kind of sticking and getting traction, then I will kill it. I don't think there's a certain like amount of money to spend or anything like that. If I'm just not seeing traction among, okay, we're not getting the right click-through rates, we're not seeing certain ads take off. At that point, I'm like, okay, we're it's either the offer or we're doing the wrong angle. Something's off here. Sometimes you just never know too. Like my buddy Blake was saying with his Tinder offer, they had that thing going like 10 or 15 sales a day on Facebook for a while and just could never get it over the hump to like other guys who were running dating offers were doing 70 to 100 a day and they could never get it up there. And I had heard from a couple of people in that niche that they were like, yeah, the kind of dating app type offers just never work as well. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I would have thought they would have done better because it's like such a widespread thing and everybody's using Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and all those things. But he was like, yeah, this guy who had a lot of experience in that niche was basically like, I've never been able to make a dating app offer work. So there's certain things that, yeah, you maybe just tweak something. Like there was a previous dating offer that worked, and then you turned it into a dating app and just had no idea that dating app offers don't work as well. So I mean, a lot of stuff like that I see happen where you just kind of run into a wall that you were just not even aware of, I guess. Yeah, I guess kind of to go back to your point, I think it's really, if you throw enough stuff at the wall and nothing's really taken off, that's probably when I would cut it. I would always probably get a second opinion from someone you trust too, if you got someone that could kind of look at it and make sure you're not missing something obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's probably when I would cut it.
Right. So you would just say that the biggest needle movers in that testing phase would be the offer, creatives, ad creatives, and like headlines and leads?
So I always start as close to the front as possible. So it's always going to be the ads first, because I've seen great ads pull 8 to 10 times what a mediocre ad will pull. So if you really just nail a couple good ads, you'll see a huge difference. So yeah, I start there, and then once that's dialed in, then yeah, I would go to the leads. I would play around with that. Once I got the lead dialed in, it really depends how good if the rest of it, like the upsells are decent and the copy's decent, I'd probably start testing price at that point. But it really depends on the offer, and this is where kind of the experience comes in, because it's like there's been offers where I've gone in to consult on, and they're like, oh, we need to fix the front end copy, and after me going through all the numbers, I realized that their AOV is pretty bad, and it's because their first upsell is not converting high enough. So then we start there, and then we get the AOV up, then they could buy a lot more traffic once the AOV part is fixed. So a lot of it is really kind of having some idea of the benchmarks of, okay, how many clicks, what should the click-through rate from a Facebook ad or a YouTube ad be? What should the conversion rate on the sales page be? What should the first upsell be converting at? if you have a decent idea of that stuff, you can kind of know where to start.
Right. Awesome.
This is piece of gold because like when things are not working, that's when you separate the children from the men.
Yeah, it's never fun when things are not working. That's for sure. But yeah, like I said, most offers, that is what happens, at least at first. You got to just kind of grind through it with testing new ads, new angles, new headlines, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, perfect. A lot of content here.
I got like 5 more minutes that I need to wrap up.
Yeah, man, I don't have more questions. I just want to thank you for being here, for sharing all your knowledge, all your experience, and it was a really, really great time and experience to have you here. And I'm sure that everyone who watches this episode will gonna love it.
Yeah, definitely. It was a really big pleasure to have you here. And I know many Brazilians right now will start studying English because of this episode, because they will want to understand what we are talking here. And it was really, really great. I'm really happy.
One thing I want to say is for a lot of people who want to become copywriters, a good way to start is writing short copy, like emails, ads, and stuff like that. Justin's probably one of the best in the world with emails, and he has a mentorship on right now, I think, right? Until midnight tonight or something.
Yeah, it actually starts
If
tomorrow.
you want to, if you want to talk about that.
I would just say if you're not on my email list yet, feel free to get on my email list. That's probably the best place to follow me if you want to see what I teach about copy and entrepreneurship and making money. If you go to justin123.com, you can just get on there, get on the email list there. Yeah, I write pretty much every day to my email list. So if you want to follow along and see what I'm talking about, that's the spot to be.
Cool.
Yeah, perfect. So everyone are
guys.
going to join your email list, definitely.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys having me on. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. Hope you guys got some good info out of this and stuff that you can apply and make more money and build your business and your copy career. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thanks again for Justin to come here. It was a big pleasure. And also Matheus Facuda that accepted coming as our special interview guy. So thanks, Facuda. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah, my pleasure.
Have a great night, everyone. Bye bye.
See you guys.